Beyond the Red House, where we turn trauma into triumph and pain into purpose. I'm Kayla Volturno, author of I Was Once the Girl in the Red House, and I believe in the power of authentic healing stories. This is a space where your voice matters, your story heals, and your journey inspires others to break their own cycles. Whether you're just beginning your healing or years into building your new life, you belong here. Let's explore what it means to move beyond the red houses that hurt us and build the lives we actually deserve. Welcome back to Beyond the Red House. And today, I want to ask you a question. And I want you to be really honest with yourself as you answer it. Are you one of those people who has deleted your manuscript 5, 10 times? Have you started with your book and maybe so much hope, so much determination, only to stop? Not because you ran out of things to say, not because you don't have a story worth telling, but because you ran out of emotional capacity to keep going. Have you opened that document, stared at the chaos of memories and timelines and feelings, and thought, yeah, I can't do this. This is too much. I don't know where to begin. I don't know what comes next. I'm exhausted before I even begun. If that's you, I want you to stay with me, because I'm going to tell you why this keeps happening, and more importantly, how to stop the cycle and how I can help. Let me tell you, the 10-year gap. That is how long it took me to finally have the courage to write I Was Once the Girl in the Red House. 10 years, a full decade of my life spent trying to finish one book. And here's what I need you to understand. It wasn't because the writing was hard. I can write. I had plenty to say. I had a story that needed to be told. The problem wasn't the words. The problem was the chaos. The chaos was unbearable. I didn't know how to manage it. Let me paint you a picture of what these 10 years looked like for me. I would start strong. I would go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write my book. This is it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell my story. I would start writing. I would get maybe a chapter or two in, and I would hit a painful memory. Something that brought up emotions that I wasn't prepared for. Something that made me feel like I was transported back into time. In that moment, that trauma, that pain. I would shut down. I would close the document. And very often, in a moment of panic and overwhelm, I would delete the entire thing and start over. Because surely, I thought if I started differently, if I structured it differently, if I just found the right entry point, it wouldn't hurt so much. It wouldn't feel so chaotic. It wouldn't be so overwhelming. But starting over didn't help. It just extended the cycle. I was jumping around from different points in my life. One chapter would be about childhood. The next is about going no contact as an adult. Then I would jump to my teen years. And then forward to me being a parent myself. The story was confusing. Absolute mess. Even I couldn't follow the thread of my own narrative. It was emotionally overwhelming because I didn't have one thing I desperately needed. A map, a structure, a plan to tell this story in a way that made sense but didn't destroy me in the process. I kept trying to feel my way through it. I kept thinking that if I just wrote from the heart, if I just let words flow, if I just trusted the process, it would come together. But it didn't. It just kept falling apart. And here's what I need you to hear. You're not failing at writing. You're failing at structure. And that's not judgment. That's a diagnosis, because I've been there. When you
understand that the problem is structural, you could fix it. You can't fix the "I'm not a good enough writer" or "my story doesn't matter." Those are shame narratives that keep you stuck. But you could fix a structural problem. You could learn structure, you could build a map. For the trauma survivor, prioritizing feeling over structure is a guarantee of emotional burnout. Let me say that again. If you try to write your trauma memoir by just following your feelings and writing whatever comes up, by jumping around in your timeline based on what you feel like writing that day, you'll burn out. You'll shut down. You'll delete everything, start over again and again for years. Again, I did that. I was that person. Because our feelings about our trauma are chaotic. They don't follow a neat timeline. They don't organize themselves in a coherent narrative. Trauma memories are fragmented, non-linear, overwhelming. If you try to write from that chaos, your manuscript will be absolutely chaotic. And let me explain why the chaos is so dangerous for trauma authors especially. The problem isn't the words. The problem is the brain, the trauma brain. When you write without a map, you are essentially wandering into emotional minefields with no destination path to retreat. You're diving into the most painful moments of your life with no plan on how to process them, no boundaries of how long you'll stay there, and no tools for regulating yourself when you do get triggered. The fear you feel when you sit down to write, that's not a fear of writing. That's a fear of re-traumatization without a shield. Your nervous system knows that going into those memories unprotected, without structure, without safety measures, that's dangerous. So it protects you by trying to make you avoid the work altogether. And that's the problem. The inability to create a story that makes sense, that flows, has a clear beginning, middle, and end. I couldn't pinpoint what I wanted to tell. At one point, I was just throwing memories onto the page. Every painful thing that happened to me felt equally important, especially urgent to include. I didn't know how to decide what stayed and what got cut. I didn't know how to organize the timeline. I didn't know how to weave themes together. I didn't know where the story should start or really where it should end. And you try to fix this, right? You add a lighter chapter in between the heavy stuff, try to balance out all the moments of hope and healing and structure with humor. We all do this. And that doesn't work if you don't know the structural rules for where those resting chapters belong in the narrative arc. You can't just sprinkle in light moments randomly and hope it creates balance. You have to understand story structure. You have to understand pacing. You have to understand how to guide your reader through difficult material in a way that doesn't overwhelm them. Which, by the way, is the same skill you need to guide yourself through difficult material in a way that doesn't overwhelm you. That's the missing link. That is why you're stuck. Not because you're not brave enough. Not because your story doesn't matter. Not because you're not a good enough writer, but because you're trying to build a house without a blueprint. Trying to navigate unfamiliar, dangerous territory without a map. The day I realized this was the day that everything changed for me. I realized my book wasn't a therapy project. Don't get me wrong, writing it was absolutely therapeutic. It was healing. It was necessary for my recovery. But the actual writing of the book, that wasn't therapy. That was a structural engineering project. I needed to stop trying to feel my way through it and start to really map my way through it. I needed to approach it with the same intention I would approach any other complex project. I needed structure, boundaries, a plan. The day I made that shift, the day I stopped treating my memoir like a journal and treating it like a manuscript with structural requirements, that was the day I finally finished. Not 10 years from then, within months, because I finally had what I needed, a framework that held me, guided me, It told me exactly what to write, when, and how. So let me tell you about the safety structure, because that's what changed everything. The only way to write your trauma story in 90 days instead of 10 years is to build a structural safety map first. And this is the core of what I teach in the Trauma-Informed Publishing Blueprint 90-Day Program. This is safety structure. Let me contrast the pain with the solution so you could see exactly what I mean. The pain is you keep starting over constantly because you don't trust what you've written. Solution: you have a non-negotiable 90-day structural track. You know exactly what you're writing every week. You're not wondering, you're not guessing or hoping. You have a map, you follow it, the structure holds you so you could focus on the writing. You're jumping around in your timeline. Your story feels lost, incoherent. Well, the solution is you have a cohesive story map that tells you exactly what memory serves the narrative at this point in the book. You know what to include and what to save for another project. You know where your story starts, where it builds, where it peaks, where it resolves. You're not throwing everything at the page hoping it sticks. You're building intentionally. Maybe you're experiencing emotional burnout. You could write for a few days, weeks, get triggered, shut down for months. Solution I have: safety boundary map that protects your emotional energy before you even start drafting. You identify your triggers ahead of time. You build the emotional regulation tools. You know when to push and when to pause. You're not writing blindly. You're not writing blindly into the emotional minefields. You're writing with full awareness of what's ahead and how to navigate it safely. This is what the safety structure provides. This is not just a writing program. It's a trauma-informed framework that allows you to tell your story without losing yourself in the process. Let me be clear about what this means practically. In the Trauma-Informed Publishing Blueprint 90-Day Program, we spend the first few weeks building your map before you even write a single word of your draft. We're not rushing into the writing. We're building the container that'll hold you while you write. We identify your core story theme. What is this book really about? What cycles are you breaking? What transformation are you documenting? We map your timeline. What are the key scenes that need to be in this book? How do they connect? What's the line? We establish your safety boundaries. What are your triggers? What memories need extra support? What regulation tools will you use when things get hard? And then, only then, do we start drafting. But by that point, you're not just writing blindly. You know exactly what you're building. You have a plan, you have the protection, you have the structure and the safety. And here's what happens when you have that structure. You stop starting over. You stop deleting everything in a panic. You stop jumping around aimlessly. You stop burning out emotionally. Instead, you write consistently, steadily, with confidence, and you know where you're going. You trust the process. You protect yourself while you work. And within 90 days, you've completed a complete draft. Not a journal, not a pile of disconnected memories, a real cohesive, structured manuscript that you could be proud of. So here's where we are. If you're done spending years in chaos and you're ready for the structural map that finishes your book in 90 days, your next step is clear. You can look at the Trauma-Informed Publishing Blueprint 90-Day Program, which is a mentorship program built on the exact structure I used to finally finish my book. The structure that took me from 10 years of chaos to a complete manuscript within months. And there are two paths right now. So as of today, when this recording comes out, Thursday, February 12th, this program is now available. And for the first 5 members, I'm offering special pricing, 50% off, and you will automatically get that if you are one of the first 5 people. The program is always open, and you can start anytime. It's just the founding members, the first 5 people, are getting this special price. If you've been waiting for the right time, if you want more information first and you want to make sure this is the right fit for you, you could request the free clarity email and you'll get detailed information about the program structure, the investment, what's included, what to expect. No pressure, no sales tactics, just clear information so you can make the decision for yourself. And I will put both options in the show notes. I will put the sales page for the Trauma-Informed Publishing Blueprint 90-day program. You'll be able to click and have with detail. I have what each week covers, and it is a lot of detail. So it'll help you. But if you still have more questions, click the link for the clarity email and fill out the little form, and it will send to me, and I will respond with whatever you need. But here's what I want you to take away from this episode. The reason you haven't finished your book isn't because you're not brave enough or because your story doesn't matter or because you're not a good writer. The reason you haven't finished is because you don't have the map, you don't have the structure. You've been trying to navigate that trauma territory without the tools you need to stay safe while you work. That's not your fault. Nobody teaches trauma survivors how to write their story with structure and safety. Most writing advice is designed for people writing fiction or general nonfiction, not for people writing the most painful experiences of their lives. But now you know. Now you understand what's been missing, and now you have an option to move forward. You can keep doing what you've been doing, starting and stopping, deleting, restarting, wandering in the chaos for another year, another 5 years, another decade. Or you choose structure. You choose the safety structure. You can choose to build the map first so that when you write, you're writing with confidence, with protection, and with a clear path forward. Because your story deserves to be told, and you deserve to tell it without destroying yourself in the process. The structure's here, the map is ready. The only question is, are you ready to finally write that book? Thank you for being here. I will see you on the next episode of Beyond the Red House.
Your healing matters. Your story matters. And you matter. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Red House. If you have a story to share or want to connect, email me at hello@kaylavalterno.com. Visit kaylavalterno.com for my book and resources to support your healing journey. Everything will be in the show notes. Keep building beyond whatever tried to break you. You are stronger than you know. This is Beyond the Red House.